What's up, everybody? It might be the international break, but we've brought together the A-team. We've brought the boys together. We've a bit of transfer gossip. We've some player talk. We've got a version of Mr. Kyle from the US of A in the Jesus breaking away from his beloved Kansas Chiefs who are playing later on tonight. We've loads of stuff to talk about. Let's go through and see who everybody is one by one. And let's start off with Sick Boy up in the top right-hand corner of the stream. Mr. Gill, 6-0. How are you, sir?
I feel absolute shite, Craig, but I wouldn't miss this for the world. I'm going to try and keep my talking down to a minimal today. But yeah, let's have fun.
We do appreciate you giving up some of your Sunday evening to come on. And Chris, how are you, sir? I mean, probably freshly hungover, I'm imagining.
Absolutely. Why? It's a Sunday, Craig. There is no question. I'm good. I had to help. Last night I had to help a Man United fan home. I should have just left him on the street, but I helped him home. And that sobered me up, so I'm all good. I'm not quite Jack levels of sick, but I'm on the scale.
Imagine that though this morning for him, Chris. So he wakes up absolutely dying with a hangover, and then realizes United are still shite. Oh,
yeah, change it to Jack 5-0 Gil. I reckon we always love to talk about 5-0s.
And Kyle, how are you, sir? Busy time for you, I think.
Yeah, no, it's sports all day, every day, which I'm not complaining, but it's good. Thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure. And this is the first time we've got as a foursome, so let's see how it works out. And there is no shortage of stuff to talk about. And I think we should probably kick off with Sadio Mane because he has travelled home from international duty, Chris. And, you know, what's your worry? Before we even move on to Hendo, by the way, I'm sick of our toys being broken every international break. And I don't know. First of all, Chris, the immediate reaction that I had to the Sadio Mane incident was it wasn't serious. But he hasn't played the second game. Do we get to feel it might be precautionary, or are you a bit more worried?
I'm not worried at all. I think when it actually happened, I was like, oh my goodness me, it's happened again. But Ali Cisse, the Senegal manager, came out after the game and said straight away that it's not serious. Very, very similar to the comments that was made by Gareth Southgate actually today. So I'm not too worried. If he was, you know, pictures being stretchered off and in serious pain, I would be. Nah, I think Mane and Henderson will both be in the squad for Saturday, fit and well.
Fingers crossed. I forgot, by the way, that just before we really kick off tonight, I should just let you guys know we are, of course, being brought to you with thanks to our very good sponsors, manscaped.com. You can get yourself 20% off anything on the Manscaped website and free shipping by using our discount code WFM20. And with the festive season coming up, please do check it out. Right, Kyle, your immediate thoughts on two potential injury concerns? I mean, in midfield, we certainly don't need to be picking up more knocks, mate. So where Hendo, I don't know. Maybe Chris doesn't seem too worried, but I'm always worried, mate, because these things often go from, yeah, it's grand, to, oh, look, a scan has shown up X, Y, or Z, and he's out for 4 weeks.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's always worrisome, but from what I've read, the Mane one, he was subbed off for precautionary. At least that's what the Senegalese manager said. So that made me happy, you know. And Hendo, they're making it seem like it's not too serious. You know, he's traveling back to, you know, Liverpool. I think he'll be all right. But again, we're always worried because the last thing we need is another midfield injury. God, any injury anywhere on the pitch.
Yeah, I agree. It's midfield's looking a little bit scarce at the minute. And look, we can talk about potential injuries. I want to kind of move it along because there is a load for us to get through today. And Jack, I want to get the transfer talk going because, you know, if anything's going to cheer us up over the international break, mate, it'll be a little bit of transfer talk. And while we're on midfield, let's talk about the links to Thiago Alcantara back to joining his former teammate, Xavi Hernandez at Barcelona. I don't know how you feel about this one, mate.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because obviously with Thiago Alcantara, it took him a while to settle to English football. I don't think we've seen him at his best in a Liverpool shirt yet. I think we've seen glimpses, but in terms of, you know, looking at a real string of quality performances from Thiago, the best was probably towards the end of last season when we went on that run to get us Champions League football for this season. Then this season as well, it's been very stop-start. He's picked up, you know, a couple of knocks here and there. And I don't think we're ready to see him go. I think, you know, there's still work to be done for Thiago at Liverpool. I still think, the stuff he wants to do here in England before he moves again. I saw, straight away the links rubbish and said that Liverpool will not allow him to leave whatsoever. So yeah, fingers crossed we keep Thiago for at least a couple more years. I think he provides something completely different that no other midfielder that we have can provide us with. So yeah, I don't like the sound of them, to be honest, Craig, but hopefully they're a load of bollocks.
So looking at this, Chris, I've just been clicking through to get as many of the links as I can. It says, after securing the return of Dani Alves, Barcelona and Xavi are intent on bringing Thiago Alcantara back to the new camp, according to reports. They list Sky Sports, The Echo, Diaro, and AS. And I don't know, mate. Do you know, on the face of this, my initial reaction is not a hope, go screw yourself. But I wonder, mate. I mean, dare I say I can potentially understand this?
I don't think it's in Thiago's DNA really to go crawling back. He's a winner. He's very successful. He hasn't cracked England yet. He hasn't won anything with Liverpool, and I think he will do that. I mean, you look at Xavi; he's getting the old boys back together, the crew back at the new cap, and fair enough. But I don't think it's an attractive prospect at the moment for anyone. In comparison to Liverpool, Thiago, is very, very important for Liverpool. Whenever he's fit, he starts usually. So yeah, I can't see Liverpool letting him go. Maybe in say 2 to 3 years' time, sure, but not yet. He's still too important for us.
Carl, you and I were briefly talking about this before we went live, mate. And my point on this is, if you're Thiago and you're thinking, okay, as Chris said, haven't really accomplished anything in England just yet. No doubt about the guy's caliber, but the reason that I said to you I could entertain the idea potentially would be if we aren't able to get Thiago into a run of games and we have two Naby Keita style situation on our hands where we've got undoubtedly quality midfielders, both on, particularly in Thiago's case, a pretty high wage. Is it the worst thing in the world if Liverpool look to move on one of them two?
I mean, when you put it that way, no, and that's certainly one way to look at it. I see it two ways. So the first thing I want to say is that, he signed a 4-year deal, I believe, with us. I don't think we would have given him a 4-year deal if we didn't want to keep him that entire time, or at least use him that entire time. So that's one thing. The second thing is there is a possibility, and this happens a lot in American sports as well. You sign a big name player on a long contract, but you don't have the intent to keep him that long. You sign him specifically so that he has trade value or selling value. So we could have potentially been in the market for someone else and we couldn't get them, or they weren't available, or they just signed a new contract. So we signed Thiago. And now with these links coming out, you never know. But the last thing I want to say is, what gives Barca the right to just link themselves with every player they want? Whenever they get a new coach. We haven't even
finished yet, mate. We've got another one to go through in a few minutes linked to Barcelona as well.
It's just nuts, man. I don't understand it. You're entitled, and just because you have a new manager with reports of a 10 million euro budget, I don't know how true that is, but it's Barca don't have two legs to stand on at the moment. I think they're in flux, and I don't think it's an exciting prospect, as Chris said.
I actually just want to talk about one point there that you raised with regard to American sports and protecting the value of players. It's one of the reasons why I think there's absolutely no reason not to tie Mo down. Because let's say, for instance, that FSG do have doubts about Mohamed Salah heading towards the 30-year-old age bracket. For me, securing him on a new contract will at least defend his value and make 100%. Sure that the club, if they do move him on in a year or 2 or 3 even, they'll get really good money from him. So for me, that's one point that I'm glad you raised, because it's been one of the reasons that's really left me scratching my head about the Mo situation and why he hasn't been tied down.
No, absolutely. I agree 100%. Sign Mo. I think they're just working out the details personally. You'll see speculation a lot, but that should have been done so long ago, man. I know they're trying to iron out the details, and some of y'all might have some more inside info than I do, but I just don't see any other way around it. You will be crucified if you don't extend Mo.
True. And look, as Paddy says, we riot if we don't get Mo.
Yeah.
Here's one thing, Jack, and I want to try and just get my view across, because people are probably going to tune in and go, hang on, Craig was talking about maybe moving Thiago on there or maybe moving Naby on. I just feel that as a club, we can't have the luxury of carrying baggage. So we can't have a high earning player that isn't playing in the squad and that isn't available week in and week out. And at the moment, mate, we have two of them in Naby Keita and Thiago Alcantara, who we love as footballers. But at what point do we say, well, we need robust midfielders? We need 10, 15 games a season, or excuse me, 10, 15 games consistently in a row out of our three midfielders. It just, I don't know, mate. I'm going to bring this full circle in a while. Don't worry. There's method to my madness here, but I wanted to get your take on that situation, Jack.
It's an interesting point. I think Thiago's slightly different. I think, you know, in terms of the injuries, they don't seem as frequently as you get with Naby. I think, you know, you look at the Everton one when he was absolutely snapped in half and out for a couple of months. I think that's very understandable. You know, and since then there have been little niggles, but not anywhere near as frequent as Naby, who, you know, is made of breadsticks and is very, very frustrating. For Thiago, like both Chris and Kyle have said, you know, he brings something completely different. He's a winner, a born winner, and they're so good to have it in squads when you're looking to win things. And, you know, I mentioned there the run he went on for the last 10 games of the season, and, you know, we really needed him in that run when we were missing a lot of key players, a lot of key leaders, and he really rose, you know, to his stature and got us where we needed to be by the end of the season. So, yeah, I think Thiago is someone we need to keep around. Naby, a very, very interesting point. But at the minute, I feel like we're not in a position where we can talk about getting rid of midfielders because we don't seem to have enough of them in it. You know, we're in a bit of a crisis in midfield at the moment in terms of injuries. So, yeah, I can't see any of our midfielders going anytime soon because I think we need to add to them rather than get rid of anyone.
Chris, I feel like I've been talking about this midfielder situation over the entire international break non-stop, and people are probably sick of hearing me out. But again, I will just point to the fact, mate, James Milner, God bless him, but he's getting on in age and he's on a fairly high wage. Thiago, okay, I agree with most of what you guys are saying. I think Thiago has a lot more goodwill in the bank than Naby does because he hasn't been here as long and he's Thiago. You know what I mean? He's Thiago at the end of the day. But this season, come this summer, mate, we're going to have to look to refresh the squad a little bit. And it seems to be whenever we're linked with a player, it's the wages that are more of an issue than a transfer fee from what I read. And I just want to get your take on if you think we're being a little bit too nice with our squad and we need to be a little bit more ruthless, especially if we're looking to work with a lean, trimmed squad.
I think Jurgen Klopp's very loyal to his players. He's been loyal to the players that have won him, you know, the Premier League, the Champions League, the Super Cup, and the Club World Cup, and got him to Champions League finals and got him second in the Champions League. But I do agree with you. I mean, there is some gaps in that midfield, even though on paper going into the season it was the strongest position in terms of depth. I mean, there is no midfielder in that team that hasn't got a big potential for injury. I mean, the only one that didn't, we let go. And I was a fan of Wijnaldum leaving, but he was the only robust player who couldn't play 15 games in a row. Every single other midfielder, I think, that we've got can't do so. That leads to a lack of consistency there. You know, players like Oxlade-Chamberlain, who needs rhythm, and, you know, I wouldn't choose to throw him in against Man United, but in terms of like wages and stuff, we have got a very, very high wage bill. I think maybe this summer coming, we'll clear some players out, we'll refresh it, maybe bring in. I saw a 42 million link to Tchouameni today that might be of interest to Jurgen Klopp. But yeah, maybe we're being a bit nice, but I think there's reasons for that.
Often I find some of my favorite bits of information in the comment section of different sites, Kyle, and I know that myself and yourself have had many conversations around the stewardship of FSG with Liverpool Football Club and the way they deal with the finances. But let me just read this comment out and then I'll try and tie all of this together. So I don't know who made the comment because I didn't screenshot that part, but the comment was the two signings that changed the course of this team into being true winners were funded by Barcelona's stupidity, not by FSG or even the increased revenue. So that means it's back to hope and every signing comes off and every pound is well spent again. And you know what, mate? I never really joined those dots. I was always aware that when we sold Coutinho, obviously we brought in Alisson Becker, we brought in Virgil van Dijk. But, you know, it really is true to say that with the signings of Luis Suarez and the signings of Felipe Coutinho, we haven't really seen FSG spend anything. And by FSG, I even mean the club. Like, our net spend is ridiculously low. It's a very good point, and it worried me because we don't want to lose anybody else, but it feels like the only way we could potentially go out there and get an Isaac or whoever it might be is by selling somebody we don't want to sell. And that's what makes me worry, because this comment from that person, I think, was spot on. I think it's very fair.
Yeah, I've always wondered what the reasoning. I mean, it's clearly a business model of FSG and how we approach the transfer market, in the sense that our net spend is nearly zero when you compare it to the other teams. But it does worry me, because I'm okay with that for a couple transfer windows or so. If you're trying to just balance the books and maybe just try to get on the right page financially so you don't run into like a Barcelona situation, that's fine. But I also do think that there's got to be some sort of balance. It clearly seems like we're prioritizing the wage bill, because we have no problem giving big money to our players, whether it's through incentives or weekly wages. But when it comes to transfers, it seems like we have been sticking, at least the last couple of seasons, to that sell to buy. And I think at this point, I think Jack hit it like right on the head. We can't afford to let anyone go. We don't have that luxury in the midfield right now with all the injuries. So I think at some point or another, we're just going to have to bite the bullet and buy some people, bro. Maybe we've been saving up. I certainly hope so. I mean, I'm an optimist, but part of me thinks this is how things are run right now. And I'm coming to a point where I got to question it. I really think that with 2 seasons now where injury worries have consistently been a problem, and last season when we had 500 pairings at center back, we solved that problem, quote unquote, solved it with Konate. We probably need to do the same thing in the midfield, either in January or this summer.
Yeah, Jack, I want to come to you on that one, because there does come a point where this really becomes worrisome, because, we're not selling players anymore. We're keeping our top players of the club at the minute. That's brilliant. But you also wonder where the fuck the money's going to come from then, because the history has taught us that we only spend big when we sell big. So, this impasse, which it seems to be between not selling players because we want to keep them at the club and not actually refreshing the squad, has to come to an end at some point. And it's only going to come to an end with, I would say, some unsavory decisions to us fans anyway.
Yeah, I don't believe anything I see or read anymore about, finances and what we're going to spend, because, the clearest sign was when we won the Champions League and John W. Henry went on Sky Sports and said he was going to invest. And then that summer, all we got was Sepp van den Berg, which I think says it all. We spoke about the money we invested from selling players such as Coutinho, which allowed to fund the signings of Van Dijk and Alisson Becker. But really, we've had one very, very good transfer window, which was obviously that one where we bought in Alisson, Fabinho. Van Dijk came in the January before, of course. And other than that, it's just been sensible bits of investment here and there. I completely agree with what you're all saying about, potentially selling another big star before we have to get someone in. But, all our players are getting to the age now where it makes no sense to sell any of them now. The only one that shines and stands out is Mohamed Salah. But, he's got a year left in his contract. We're not going to sell him. But, we're not going to make anywhere near the money that he's worth. So it just doesn't make sense. And for me, we've got to evolve with the times. We've got to, start being more like, the big clubs around us in the Premier League. And I'm not saying, turn into City, turn into Chelsea, where they just spunk money left, right and centre. But you've got to be a bit more streetwise and evolve with the times. And, I think a big part of what Liverpool Football Club need to do in the next couple of windows is put their money in the pockets and find some, real young stars that can replace the current, mass amount of stars that we've got in the squad that are getting to, you know, the peak, well, getting to the end of the peak of their careers.
Sorry for my celebration. Ireland, they're just gone 1-0 up against the might of Luxembourg there. So, you know, obviously had to celebrate. Chris, want to get your thoughts on this one, mate. Often, again, I like to find my information in articles, and there's often one word in an article that worries me. This one was, I believe I pinched this from the Echo, and it's speaking about Diogo Jota and Bobby Firmino, and they're saying that they aren't fit. The latter is currently out for at least 4 more weeks with an injury, and here's the worrying part, to a troublesome hamstring. That's the part of that sentence that makes me worried, because, you know, we're talking about who we could potentially bring in and who we've been too loyal to and who we may have to move on financially. And when I see the phrase troublesome hamstring, that worries me, because I did not know that Bobby Firmino I knew he had a hamstring injury, but I didn't know it was a persistent thing. And at what point do we look at these and go, yeah, got to move them on? I know I've been ruthless tonight, and I have. I've been ruthless talking about moving people on, but I get a pain in my nut with consistently seeing a lack of consistency in our squad because of injuries. It does my head in.
I think the difficult thing is, sorry for coming in there, but I think the difficult thing is with Firmino, you know, Klopp is so, he's so reliant on Firmino and what he does for the squad, doesn't he? When you listen to Klopp and his comments a lot, he's never found his, you know, his alternative Firmino. If we play, you know, Jota or someone that's not Bobby, we have to play in a different way. And, you know, I think he's loved throughout the years to stick by Firmino, hasn't he? And I think now we're starting to see the evolution of football. You've got more players who can play in that false 9 position. I think Nkunku at Leipzig would be a fantastic addition for us. I liked Kai Havertz before he moved to Chelsea as well, but I think, you know, in the end, his price proved a bit too high for us. But Nkunku, I think, is one that we can really look at. Looking at a whole different, you know, sort of style. Alexander Isak looks like a real player who I think we should bring in. So yeah, for me, I think this year is probably the right time to start thinking about an alternative to Bobby Firmino. But I think Klopp would still want to keep him around for at least another season, because he'll want Bobby to teach whoever is in next how to do that role properly. Because, you know, Bobby Firmino is the dog's bollocks to Jurgen Klopp. You know, he is rated really highly by Jurgen, and I don't think he'll move Bobby on that quickly.
The problem with that, though, Chris, is that his contract will be up if we give him that 1 more year, and he's got to go for nothing. And are Liverpool going to allow Bobby Firmino to go for nothing, or Sadio Mane to go for nothing? And that's the worrisome. We spoke about this the other day as well. It's the worrisome thing about having the three elder attacking players all running down their contracts at the minute.
Yeah, it is a little bit. I think with Firmino, it's slightly different. I mean, he never really misses a game. And the fact that he's got this injury is a little bit weird. But I saw Jurgen quote a couple of weeks ago who said Bobby is a quick healer. Hopefully that gets that. I don't know. I think having Roberto Firmino as your 5th striker, say we bring in a forward in January or in the summer, is an unbelievable bit of depth. I mean, he has done so much for this football club. He is, you know, I think he is going to start winding down now. Same with Sadio Mane as we evolve. Jurgen Klopp will lead this squad in a better place than he got it, and it'll be a place where we don't need to move on Deadwood. I think Firmino will still be there because I think he can offer so much. He is that good.
I don't disagree, Kyle, with what either of the guys have said, but I don't have much room in my life for sentiment, and for me, somebody's got to move on this summer. Somebody's got to free up space. Somebody's got to free up wages. Somebody's got to bring in some money. And I think with all, you know, the platitudes and the kindness in the world, it's going to be either Sadio Mane or Bobby Firmino, in my mind.
Well, see, that's my shortcomings. I have a lot of sentiment and a lot of love for Bobby Firmino. I don't want to get rid of Bobby. I really don't. I think when he is on form, I mean, I feel like he's been having a great season so far. I mean, you know, his goals, to be fair, have for the most part come in just kind of like off the bench. He hasn't really like produced them himself, but I think Bobby, and, you know, everyone was right with saying this, Klopp loves Bobby to a fault. And that goes with everyone. You know, he has these players that he's loyal to. And maybe that's his biggest downfall, is that he is unable to recognize when these players might be ready to move on or when we need to bring someone else in. And maybe he just rides that horse a little bit too long. But more to the, you know, bringing in someone else, we definitely need another player, an understudy of Bobby, to say that. Like, because Diogo Jota was an excellent buy. He's versatile, can play across that entire front line. Yes, you can argue we have to play a different way when Jota's in there as opposed to Bobby Firmino. And, you know, even our last match, we had to sub off Jota, and it just really depends on who's in there. But I think there's a system. I think we've been so far successful, very successful in getting the right players in. And I think what speaks to that is we got a Premier League trophy, won the Champions League. I mean, we have all these trophies to prove that what Klopp is doing is working. And I am a fan at the end of the day, and I'm going to support whatever Klopp wants to do, whatever he thinks is best. You know, we can have the debates about, you know, the business side of things, but I trust Klopp with my life, dude. Like, has Klopp given you any reason not to trust him yet, guys? And that's an honest question. I don't think there has been. He's had bad substitution, sure, but Klopp has brought success to this club, and I'm sticking behind him.
Well, again, I can't speak for everybody in the chat, but for me, I've never doubted Klopp. I've always doubted FSG. Always had my concerns around that. And Jack, I'm going to bring you in again now. So what I want to kind of, I suppose, move on from the conversation of how much we might get for players if we should move them on. For me, if we look to build Jurgen Klopp's second team, one of the most important attributes for the way that we play is relentlessness. It is having a great engine. And to me, older legs don't really work too well for that system as an overall. And I think if we look to defend from the front, which we do a lot of the time, it's now 2-0 to Ireland, by the way, so whoop whoop. On that one, I just think, again, aging legs with injuries. And look, our players have a lot of mileage on the clock, dude. Whatever we want to talk about, the way that we press, you see the yards that we cover, the amount. We're always in the top 2-3 in the Premier League every season, in my recollection. So, again, I just think that we need some fresher, younger legs.
I think we'll get them. I just don't think this summer is the time to move on players like Bobby and Sadio.
So would you let them go on a free?
I'd give them an extension, but a short extension. And I'd bring in, you know, young alternatives, see how it goes, allow them to learn from the likes of Bobby and Sadio, and go from there. But yeah, I think it's a different. I completely understand where you're coming from, Craig, and what you're trying to say, but I just think bad planning over the last couple of years has made that impossible to do. I think, you know, the constant, you know, the amount of times that we've not bought anyone in transfer windows has left us in a position where we can't afford to, you know, take a gamble now and buy, you know, the level of players and get rid of Sadio Mane, who's got a year left on his contract, because what are you talking about? How the price for a 29-year-old Sadio Mane with a year left on his contract? What are you getting for him? Surely he's more value.
Chelsea got €100 million for Eden Hazard at the same age and the same contract situation.
Exactly. But you know, in the market, a team's going to pay that now? We'd have to wait and see. But for me, I think there's more value in keeping Sadio Mane and Bobby Firmino and adding to them. You know, for me, I'd get rid of players like Ox, Origi, and upgrade on them, because, you know, that for me is the level we should be at now. We should be bringing younger players in to improve on players like Origi and Ox. And we should be, you know, getting the likes of Mane and Bobby to teach them what they know, because, you know, we should appreciate this Liverpool squad right now, because I don't think we'll ever get better. I really, really don't.
I think, Chris, that if we were to go ahead and do what we've all, you know, let sentiment rule here, what would happen is we would end up inadvertently creating a Jose Mourinho type situation where he leaves the club and we have a load of aging players. And Klopp won't do that. And I know that he won't do that.
I can't see him doing that. Leaving whoever takes over will obviously speculate, like see Steven Gerrard and stuff like that. There will not be a squad that is in a bad position the way that Ferguson left it, for example, the way that Mourinho left it. And I'm certain that some players will be moved on, but some players will be kept because you need to continue this or evolve the dynasty that Klopp has built. And I'm sure he will see that in the way that other fans do and that the owners do as well. But yeah, I think that Firmino and Mane's situation, I think Jack got it spot on. Short extensions, like in my opinion, what we should have done with Henderson, but we gave him a 4-year one, which is a bit mental. But just short extensions, performance-based incentives, appearance-based incentives. Because if they're still playing,
let me just cut in there for 1 second. So I'm Sadio Mane, and I'm sitting in the dressing room, and I'm in the same contract situation as Mo Salah. Mo Salah is getting a 4-year contract on 350 grand a week, i.e., you're valued, but Sadio, same age, roughly, same contract situation. Yeah, mate, we're not quite sure about you. You know, we're going to give you a 2-year. It's a hard sell, mate. It's a hard sell to a player and his agent.
It's the thing is though, Salah's one of, if not the best player in the world right now. You know, you only have to put his numbers in front of Sadio Mane to tell him that. I think the sort of human being that Mane is, he would completely understand. I think he would want more security in that contract, yes, but I think a 2-3 year extension with, you know, the same money, if not a tiny bit more than he's on now, isn't anything less than he deserves and isn't anything that Mane wouldn't be satisfied and happy with. You know, you have to be honest. And
he's going to get a pay increase then. We're all happy he's getting a pay increase then, yeah? Because he's not going to sign a contract for the same money. So where the fuck does the money come from then?
Well, sale probably. Well, Milner's going at the end of the season. That's 150 grand a week off the wage bill.
So no doubt, we're all in agreement here. We have to use that money to bring in another midfielder, correct?
Yeah, but if you give Mane an extra 10k of that,
we shouldn't be discussing. We're Liverpool fucking football club. Why are we having these conversations?
This is why I wanted to bring it right back around to Kyle again, because my question for Kyle next was going to be, who do you think is at fault in this, and do you believe that Jurgen Klopp is really happy with the transfer situation? Because I have to say, mate, for me, I think he's just been a very good statesman. I think that behind the scenes, I don't reckon that Klopp's happy with the situation. I just think he's been a good leader, you know, and publicly saying the right things.
100%, I agree with you. If I'm Klopp, I'm not happy with the situation, but Klopp is a professional. And not only will he, you know, stick by his employer, but I mean, he will make it seem like everything is great, like this was his idea. That's how you lead a team. And another thing, going back to how Mane would be okay with, you know, same age, different contract from Mo if they both extended. We have a team full of just down-to-earth, hard-working professionals who understand this project, who are part of a team. They're not playing for themselves. No one on this team has, I feel like, any ego, except for maybe Van Dijk. But it's like, it's a swagger. It's not an ego. You know what I mean? And we love it. So to that point,
we absolutely do love it.
Van Dijk. It's just, it's amazing. So I think I agree. I think Sadio would understand that, you know, and to be fair, I just think we have a team of professionals who go out there, they do their job, they do it fucking well. God, we are so at the top of our game right now. Jack said something earlier, like he doesn't think we'll get any better. Like it's gonna be hard to beat the team that we've created. I mean, seriously, think about it. This team has just accomplished so much, and you have to get the right players in. Otherwise, you're just wasting money. Like you shouldn't gamble at this point. I mean, you're a top team. Obviously, you're Liverpool Football Club. You should be able to spend money and not worry about it. But you also don't want to waste money. You don't want to gamble on players that might not work out. So that leads me to like January. Are we going to gamble? Are we going to get a forward in and a midfielder because we got Salah and Mane going away? Keita might go away too if he's healthy by then. I mean, there's just so much stuff going on right now. To answer your question, though,
I love the segue, by the way. We're getting to the sexy talk now. We're getting to the transfer window. Here we go. I like it. But go on, finish your thought. Go on.
No, just to answer your question, I 100% think that Klopp is just being a professional. He's just showing up to work, being a leader, and that's what he was brought in to do. Whether he's happy or not, we all go to work, and we might not be having the best day, but we show up, we work hard, and we're professionals. That's really what it comes down to.
I agree. The lads are absolute thorough professionals, and I would never say anything derogatory about any of them from that regard, because they all put a shift in, they all show up. There's no carrying baggage on that squad. You know, there's no games where we look at and think where there's only 10 players out there on the pitch. They all do put a shift in. I will agree with you on that one. Right. I want to move towards the transfer window now and get into the happy times, you know, see what trains we can board today. And Chris, I'm going to come to you first because we were talking about this one a little bit earlier on. Liverpool being linked with a move for on loan Wolves striker Hwang Hee-chan, who is himself on loan from Leipzig. Your thoughts on this one, mate? Does it belong on Bullshit Island?
Probably. But I think that the main thing that's come out of it is that us and Man City have really, really taken an interest in Hwang. I mean, I think we were linked with him the same sort of time as we were linked with Taki Minamino when Salzburg came to Anfield and shocked the world, really, and in the way that they played. He went to Leipzig, didn't really work out. He's gone to Wolves and has looked excellent. Personally, I love it. I think he would be an excellent cover across the front three. He's quick. He works hard. Can I see it, though? I think Bullshit Island's probably the right place for it.
Mr. Gill, as somebody who loves a forward, somebody who loves an attacking option, mate, what are we saying?
I love Hwang. 25 years old.
That's clipped immediately.
Conquers the Asian market. Bring him in. What a signing he would be. You know, I read up on this earlier. I think it's going to be a difficult one. There's an option to buy for Wolves there, so I think if they're willing to pay, which you'd think they would be after how he's started there so far, I think they'll want to sign him. But I think they may have their hands forced, and they may be forced to make it permanent in January with how he's playing, and you know, if the reports are right and us and City are sniffing around. But it's easy to see why. You know, he's quick, he's agile. He likes pressing high. He's versatile, and he's young at 25 as well. So I think he'd be a top signing for us, and one that, you know, I think it's not the signing we should be looking at. You know, we've mentioned before names like, you know, Alexander Isak for that number 9 position, but Hwang being versatile, he's a Klopp-like signing in my opinion. And he'd come in and fit in really, really well. The Premier League experience at Wolves this season will help too. So, yeah, I think there's a lot worse we could do, Craig. I really, really do. Do I think it'll happen, though? Absolutely fucking not.
Here's a bit of humour, Kyle, from Connor. He puts in Hwang, Haaland and Szoboszlai in the team, and we picked Minamino.
We picked Minamino because he was $7 million for Minamino. I mean, at the time, it was a steal because he just put in a world-class performance against us, but that's neither here nor there.
By the way, on that fee, I just want to reiterate that United were willing to pay 20 million for him because they hadn't got a clue about the release clause, and Michael Edwards did. Therein lies the man's genius. But go on.
They don't have a clue about the release clause, and they clearly don't know how to defend. In case you guys forgot, it's 5-0 was the score. 5-0. Okay. So, anyways, Hwang Hee-chan, I've been aware of him. I think he would definitely be an understudy guy. You know, I think he fits the mold of that versatile forward that we currently have in the squad. You know, case in point, like a Jota kind of deal. If in a perfect world, I would love Chiesa, though. I think Chiesa's my guy. Because for value for your money and just pure skill, I mean, if you watch this guy play, this guy is something else, man. I love Chiesa. So in a perfect world, I get him. So I'd put the Hwang Hee-chan thing in the bullshit category, especially because Wolves have an option to buy. I feel like that kind of deters us away from it. But again, they could always deny the option and then someone picks him up. I mean, look at Ozan Kabak. He goes to Norwich. I mean, it could always happen. But I think our eyes are elsewhere. I think we can definitely do better if we're going to go for a forward.
Before I move on to another one, I just want to bring up a super chat because I brought it on screen, but we didn't really discuss it. And it was about the 150 million net spend that Jamrock believes that we made in that year. 191 million in purchases, 45 million sold. I think that's a false economy to some extent, because when we were talking about the Alisson and VVD additions, I think they came via the Coutinho money, but one of them was a January signing, one of them was a summer signing. I think that's where the overlap came in, Jamrock, for me. I don't think, in my recollection, that we went out and spent a shitload of money net. And Chris, I'm looking at you here to bail me out on this one.
Yeah, I personally don't think it was. Well, we got Naby in, didn't we? Which we'd already bought the previous summer. as well as Fabinho, which I think we just saw the opportunity and swooped in.
Ox for Fabinho.
Ox was a year before, wasn't he? 17,
Yeah.
18. Just big transfers. But that was in a time where Liverpool were building. Now I think we plateaued a little bit. They FSG see top four, they see Champions League, they see money. Jurgen Klopp is getting them that. What's the point in investing in something if it's not going to earn you more money? So that's the whole point.
I think.
Jack, get ready. It's okay, Jack. You'll get it now. I'm gonna give you a semi now, Jack. So stay relax. I know you like this, dude. So with the likes of Divock Origi unlikely to have a long-term future with Anfield, and Salah and Mane set to depart for the African Cup of Nations in January, El Nacional report that Alexander Isak is of interest to Liverpool, with the Reds viewing him as a good fit for Klopp's side due to him being fast, agile, and very good. They go on to claim that Liverpool are considering a €40 million bid for the Real Sociedad striker, but it remains to be seen if such an offer is to be made in January or if it would be accepted. Go on, Jack. Run with this one.
There's no one better. There's no one more suited. There's no one more perfect. We have to get it done. We have to get it done. He's a player that, before he signed his new contract at Sociedad, I was all over. I think he is the perfect replacement for Bobby. He's slightly different in style, but there's similarities there too. He's a proven goal scorer. And he's just a real talent. Causes loads of problems. I think under Klopp he'd be a real machine, a goal scoring machine. I think couple him up with Salah as well, and oh my God, you've got a recipe there for put that shit on Pornhub. But yeah, for me, I just get it done. Get it done. €40 million as well. Absolute steal.
That for me, Chris, is where this whole story falls down, because we know that he had a €75 million release clause before they renewed his deal. So again, I will fully back what your colleagues at LFC Transfer Room there are saying. It's if we show up, even Michael Edwards shows up and offers €40 million, mate, he ain't getting in the fucking room. Let's be fair.
No, I mean, you could go and get money from Man United. They probably need a striker with their shortcomings of Ronaldo. But you could get a lot of money, more money out of other clubs for Alexander Isak. I mean, I can't even think of a reality where we get him for £40 million. If we do, I mean, fair enough. But I think it would be upwards of 60 to 70. Like, he is that good, as Jack said, and I'd love to see him at Anfield. I think he reminds me so much of Ibrahimovic, but like in a really good, quick way. I just love him, mate. I love him. I 100%.
He's got everything.
I just think, though, if Kyle, we get to the point where we're talking about 60, 70 millions, then we're full circle back around to Federico Chiesa again, in my mind.
Well, yeah, and 40 million. I mean, why they wouldn't let him leave for that amount of money? They couldn't. I just feel like that just wouldn't be right with the talent that he is. Now, to be fair, I probably haven't watched him as much as you guys have, so I can only speak based on like his statistics that I've read. But he produces offensively, like Jack said, he's a proven goal scorer, and his defensive statistics, particularly like his pressing and his duel statistics, he's very good in that aspect of his game. So, again. These are all players I want. It's just a matter of, are we going to get them or not?
I'm going to throw a grenade in here. I don't rate Isak that much from what I've seen. And I'll admit, I won't have studied him as much as many other people will. I'm with Captain Salah now. And I think I haven't seen anything that makes me think that this lad is a 70 million quid footballer. And what I've seen personally, and look, of course I'm wrong most of the time and a lot of stuff, but if I had that type of wedge to be thrown around, I think there are better options out there. And look, I know Sociedad are good, and I will give you a chance, Chris, because I can see you're squeezing in your chair now. You're dying to get back in. So go on, tell me how wrong I am and why I'm so wrong.
I don't know if you're wrong. I think the pricing is the big thing. I mean, if we could go and get a Chiesa for 70 million, then great. Probably covers what we need more. I think Jota's great through the middle. Do we need an out-and-out striker as much as we need maybe cover on the wings and a midfielder? No, I don't know, unless Klopp's trying to evolve his style of play. I think it all comes down to where Jurgen Klopp wants to take this team, whether Isak is the one for him to make him the Lewandowski of Liverpool. But I honestly, I'd still love him. Even if we paid £70 million, he would be quality.
I mean, I want to come back to Jack on this, because while we speak about this, I'm always mindful, Jack, that we still have Musialowski, we still have Glatzel, who's on loan at the minute, we still have other young players coming through as well. So it's such a hard balance, mate, to look at the future of Jurgen Klopp's development and also making sure that we nurture the very, very, very good quality youngsters that the club have already brought in.
Yeah, I mean, Glatzel's Liverpool career has been severely damaged by, his big injuries over the last couple of years, and I think his loan this season was one to try and help revive his career, but it's not been too great as yet. But he's still got plenty of time, still very young. Just needs his big breakthrough now after a difficult couple of years. In terms of what Chris was talking about there, what we need. I've said for some time, I think we need something a little bit different. Jota, I think, is decent through the middle, but I think, his better performances come when he's out on the left-hand side. And, bringing in a typical number 9, as I like to call them, in, Isaac Vlahovic is another one who I think would be a very good signing for us. Is something that I
can almost feel Chris's fume from here with the mention of Vlahovic.
Is something that we should do. But you're quite right, Craig. We've got loads of youngsters, and maybe that's why I'm thinking like that. And also, I mentioned 2 players there who aren't particularly versatile, whereas we know Klopp loves forwards who can play in multiple positions across that front three, which is probably why Jarrod Bowen's a big target of his as well, one that I could see happening there. Because
I'm on that train. I'm actually getting more and more on board that train as the weeks go by.
Yeah, I think he's a top player as well. I really do. I think the issue there as well, which is this may have been why we've saved money up over the past couple of transfer windows too. Just trying to somehow see through FSG's decisions. But for me, I think we saw last window with trying to offload players that weren't homegrown. I think maybe the possibility of us bringing in a couple of English players, a couple of homegrown players in the next couple of windows is very likely. And obviously we know the additional tax on English players from other Premier League clubs. So yeah, that may be a possibility. But Bowen, I'm on that train too. I think he's a top player, versatile, quick, presses high, everything Klopp loves.
There's a comment here that's aimed at me, but I want to aim it at everyone. I think maybe if we could all give one midfielder and one attacking player that we would ideally like to see Liverpool recruit. I'll say the summer. We'll give it we'll say over the next 6 to 7 months. So whether it be January or the summer, I will read something out while I give you guys a second to think, because it's again from our friends at El Nacional. So your colleagues will love this one, Chris. Barcelona boss Xavi reportedly wishes to sign Mohamed Salah at all costs. Don't know we quite fits into the €10 million budget that we were speaking about earlier on. But the La Liga giants who bid farewell to Lionel Messi, who have bid farewell to Lionel Messi in the summer, lost their way since his departure. Xavi wants Salah to come in and fill the void of Messi at all costs. Yeah, best of luck with that. But I was just basically, that's a placeholder, just to give you guys a second to think, because as Kyle said earlier on, I don't know where they're getting the money to buy Mohamed Salah from, but he wouldn't go there anyway at the minute. But on that one, so Carl, I'll come to you first, mate. One midfielder and an attacking player, be it wide or central. I'll leave it up to you.
Federico Chiesa, 100% the attacker for me. I just think he's perfect, perfectly versatile, similar mold, as I said before, kind of like a Jota. He's quick. I mean, just from what I've seen, when I watch him, everyone likes a different style of footballer. I see him and I'm just like, God, man, I want that guy. So Chiesa for me, midfielder, circle back around to me, man. I'm still thinking. There's a lot of options out there.
Mr. Gill?
Well, I've frozen on my screen, so I hope you can hear me. I think striker is between Jarrod Bowen and Alexander Isak. And in midfield for me, I'm going to go with Barella or Tielemans.
Yeah, I'm on board with you on a lot of those, but I'll give mine at the end. And Chris?
I mean, I'm going to mix it sort of between what I think would be great for us and personally for me. Midfielder, I think Declan Rice. I think he'd be fantastic for Liverpool. I think he is almost perfectly fitting. I think he's got the technical ability of Henderson with the work rate of a Wijnaldum. I think
he's got that Irishness as well running through his veins.
Maybe he'd have scored against Luxembourg. And then
Beat them 3-0, excuse me, sir. Handy job.
And then forward, I'll go Jared Bowen because he's also from my hometown. No Herefordian has ever played for Liverpool. I want it to happen. It's going to happen. Jared Bowen.
There we go. So you're giving up on your potential to play for Liverpool right now. Then you're admitting that publicly.
I think my one season of junior football where I was second choice goalkeeper. I didn't even think they had them in junior football, but they do, and that is where I was. So I think that ship has unfortunately sailed. I would have made it if it wasn't for the ACL though.
There you go. There they go. Say again.
I forgot Jude, and obviously we got to sign Joe. So I should have said him. Oh.
We're going to need a bigger boat. We're going to need a bigger boat, gentlemen. Kyle, I come back to you for your midfield option.
I'm with Jack. I actually forgot about Jude as well because the only name that was coming to mind of anyone I really wanted was Chumani, I think is his name. He plays in France. I can't remember. I think it's Monaco. I could be wrong. Yeah, okay, so it's Monaco. I do like him from what I've seen. But yeah, Jude Bellingham, I mean, come on. Who wouldn't want Jude Bellingham? It'd be perfect. It'd be perfect.
I think Rice fits better, personally. Controversial opinion. I think Declan Rice fits better than Bellingham.
Liverpool. You know what?
I think Declan Rice would just be. I don't know if I can get behind that.
I'll give mine, then I'll pick back up on what Chris said a second ago. I mean, look, ideal world. I'm kind of Barella or Jude Bellingham midfield options in that world. Up front, I would be happy with probably 6 or 7. I mean, Danjuma is a good shout, but I would annoy me that we didn't get him from Bournemouth. I still think, even though we haven't spoken about him, I still think that the kid from Anderlecht, Jeremy Doku, can't be ruled out. But I do love the idea of Jared Bowen because, again, look at the style of player and think, mightn't be the sexiest name in the world, but my God, he'd be effective, and he'd be effective in a Jurgen Klopp team. And again, that versatility would be a factor I think that maybe the manager would like. But look, you've got Haaland, you've got so many other great attacking talents around Europe at the minute. But I want to come back to what Chris has said, because interestingly enough, my gut instinct when you said Declan Rice was we ain't paying that money, but it's not a million miles away from the Jude Bellingham type of money. So I wonder, if it's a fair, who would you have? One or the other right now? Let's go between the four of us. Who would you have if you had 100 million burning a hole in your pocket? Declan Rice or Jude Bellingham? Let's go with you, Chris, first.
It's a really difficult because obviously Bellingham has years on Rice. He has years to improve. We don't know what his peak will be, but what I've seen of Declan Rice the last 2.5 years, he is an absolute engine. I think he fits Klopp's Liverpool better than Jude Bellingham. I don't know where Klopp's Liverpool goes, but I'd 100% sign him. I think he's a leader as well and just a fantastic technical footballer as well.
I'd go with Jude Bellingham because Declan Rice is a badge kissing prick. Kyle?
Yeah, look, I agree with the years. Jude Bellingham has the youth. I just think Jude Bellingham would be the better investment, strictly from a business standpoint. I mean, he's younger. He's got more time to kind of be molded into a system that he might not be familiar with, as Klopp does with literally every midfielder he brings into the system. Okay, Declan Rice captains West Ham. I don't know if he would want to give that up to come and be second, not even second, like sixth fiddle to Henderson in the midfield. I don't see Declan Rice fitting into our midfield. I just think we already have Fabinho, we have Hendo, and the rest of our midfielders are more so like technical guys. I don't think Declan Rice is a technical guy. I'd go with Jude Bellingham.
And Mr. Gill?
Jude easy. I think for the thing is with Declan Rice, I think he's a top player, Premier League proven, of course, which I think is obviously massive. But Jude's just so special. He's a generational talent. He's fantastic. He really, really is. He's a player that's ahead of his years. And I get where Chris is coming from, kind of. I think Rice is a top player, a real engine, but you can't be having him over Jude Bellingham. But with that being said, I think Calvin Phillips would also be a great addition for Liverpool. I think he
What
is.
age is Calvin Phillips?
25.
Yeah, he's mid-20s. Yeah.
But I think he's better suited to Liverpool than Declan Rice. But over them two, I'd take Jude over Minan. They bring him in.
Absolutely. I'm fully on board the Jude train. And look, I don't know how to say this, but it just feels like it should happen. It's almost destiny. And if it doesn't happen, it's only because FSG are stingy bastards. In my mind, this is just my opinion on it. Everything about it screams like if we made him an approach, he would come running to Anfield. That's the vibe that I get from that entire Jude Bellingham situation. Reports in Germany, gents, and I touched on this the other day. Again, I don't want to piss on anyone's cornflakes, but it does look like Adeyemi could well be Germany bound, Chris. And the favourites seem to be Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund, and there's been some talk that he's potentially even told people he could be off to Dortmund.
It's like I think everyone sort of knew. I don't think he was quite.
No. I knew before everybody. Let's call a fucking spade a spade. I was banging this drum 4 or 5 weeks ago, telling people that he was going to end up in Germany. But we move on. Sorry.
For me, it was just like Dortmund, Leipzig, and Bayern. Like that's where a young German player would want to go. Maybe he'll spend the rest of the season on loan at Salzburg, but it's the best place for him to learn. If I was a young player right now, I would be putting all my eggs in the Bundesliga basket. And if they are looking for a second choice goalkeeper, I'm more than available. But he's a special young talent.
What about the ACL though, Chris? The ACL, all right?
Yeah. I can look after it. I can improve with good physiotherapy. But it's the best place for Adeyemi to develop. Liverpool is not. However much we can paint it, he wouldn't get football as much as he'll get there. So yeah, fair enough. And I hope he comes to us in 2 to 3 years and after bagging 30 goals every season.
To finish up tonight, gents, I want to talk about 2 topics. One of them, obviously, Julian Ward stepping up to take over for Michael Edwards. But a second one, a report that came out the other day, and I don't know if everybody has seen this, but I'll let you guys know if you haven't. So apparently, Liverpool supporters have looked for a clause in a draft contract with the club on fan engagement, which would effectively give them a veto on any future involvement in the Super League. Now, the reason I bring this up again is because the president of the Liga, Javier Tebas, has been speaking recently and said that from what he believes, Barcelona, Real Madrid and Juventus are still planning on reintroducing the Super League, pushing ahead with it. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this potential veto that Liverpool fans are looking to put in and the likelihood of FSG caving to this clause. And Kyle, I will come to you first on that one because, you've seen how FSG operate probably longer than any of us. So the clause first and then the thoughts of FSG actually bowing down to fan pressure and including it.
Well, I actually, a lot of people think I wouldn't, but I like that idea. I feel like the fans should definitely have a say, with a veto power with that, especially the way it was sprung on us. It kind of just came out of nowhere and they're like, oh, we're doing this Super League thing, guys. It just completely ruins the tradition of football, the energy that comes around when these top teams meet once every 5-10 years. Everyone's against the Super League, I feel like. And can you go back to the clause again? Can you read the article again?
Yeah, certainly. So the clause would effectively give whoever's on the board for representing the Liverpool fans a veto against any Super League. So if FSG tried to sign up to a Super League, the fans could, let's say, press this big red button to go, no, not happening, and the club can't do it.
Oh, yeah, I'm on board with that 100%. As long as the representative is a representative of the fans. But again, I'm not involved in the city like, you guys are. So, you guys definitely probably have more insight on it than I do, but I love that, especially because sometimes it takes something like that where the club just like, we're going into the Super League for something like this to be implemented to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Because at the end of the day, the club's not there without the fans, especially Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah, for me, Chris, look, I think often football fans are are stereotyped as being idiots, not too clever Neanderthals. But I think people often forget that football appeals to a wide range of people, and there are certainly people behind the scenes in Liverpool's fan base and Manchester United's fan base who are very intelligent, very capable people, mate, as we've seen before in the past, and the likes of the Spirit of Shankly and stuff like that have done amazing work on behalf of Liverpool fans. And it didn't surprise me to see that they were looking to implement that. And I hope that the club listen, but my gut instinct tells me that they won't.
The only thing that worries me is getting the right person or the right, group of people to represent us, because FSG could literally buy out anyone if it came to a veto. If the person was corrupt enough, they could buy out a vote and that veto to not do it, which is a sad reality of existence. But hopefully, that doesn't happen. I think, the fan, in an ideal world, everyone involved in a football club will support that football club, want the best interests of that football club. And the Super League, financially, it's financially the best thing, but no one wants that in football. It's poisonous and it's elitist, and we don't want it. But hopefully, we get the right person in to make sure that this veto is well used.
What I would say, Jack, is I wouldn't hold that. I don't even want to call it a fear that Chris has, because it's a valid point. But what I would say is, from everything that I've seen and researched and read around supporters groups like the Spirit of Shankly and whatnot, they always bring this to a public vote, mate. There would be no one person there that would have all of this power. In essence, it would be brought to their members and it would be voted on.
Yeah, I just don't buy any of the shit FSG do anymore. I think even if the veto was brought in, they'd do everything they can to move it out of the way if the Super League came back up. Because, I think they showed with the last time that they, don't forget we were one of the sides and FSG were one of the main culprits for the Super League idea. It was, they were one of the main parties investing in it. So for me, no, I don't buy it. I think even if the veto's brought in, like Chris said, I just can't see them sticking by it. And as soon as money comes up, their eyes will flash up like in cartoons and they'll run after it again. So I can't see them agreeing to it. I mean, last time, obviously we got the slogan, "This means more," and all the other ones that they've embedded into this football club, and then they come up with this Super League idea. So I hope they do the right thing and agree to veto it, but it's FSG, and I've lost my confidence in them. I really have.
Well, last topic, gents, and obviously the news broke this week that Michael Edwards will be leaving the club at the end of his current contract, which runs out at the end of the season. His work has been unquestionably fantastic. I think we'll all be in unison agreeing on that one. Julian, what's the guy's name? Julian Ward, isn't it? Julian Ward is going to be the guy that comes in and replaces him. And Chris, from the bit of research I've done on him, had a spell with Manchester City, worked as a Liverpool's loan liaison officer or the representative to keep in contact with players who were thereabouts. I think when he was working with us as well, he was over Spain and Portugal at one point over the scouting system there. Certainly at 40 years of age, mate, seems like a very capable dude to come in and take over from Michael Edwards.
Let's not forget, I think he actually set up that loan department, which is quite a big thing. He's been shadowing Michael Edwards for the last couple of years as assistant sporting director. There is no better man that's groomed to do that role the right way, and hopefully, wherever Michael Edwards goes, we can develop a positive relationship with that club or whatever he does. So, yeah, Julian Ward's the perfect man. There is no way about it. He knows the Liverpool way, and he knows the way that FSG work. And yeah, it's perfect, really, to promote from within, especially with a role like that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think I'm right in saying this. I'm happy to be corrected if I'm wrong, but Kyle, I think he was one of the founders, or certainly in the very start of Prozone as well. I believe when football statistics and stuff were really being brought to the fore, and it is a very Liverpool way of doing things, mate, and from promoting from within and grooming and nurturing the talent that's there. And I like it. I have to say, I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not something, especially if you're an old school, sporting director or whatever, you may not be used to these advanced analytics tools, and I think that that's really important as to why Julian Ward was kind of not fostered, but kind of groomed under him. And for him to be taken over, that's good, because then there's no lapse in, can I do the job, or do I know how this club runs? I think it keeps the infrastructure strong. And by promoting from within, I also think it's a good sign about how things are run at the club. And I'm really not too worried. When I heard Julian Ward be taken over, I was kind of like, okay, that's fine. To me, it's pretty much the same thing as if like Pep Linders took over for Klopp. I'm like, okay, I can get behind that. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, like you said, we'll keep a good relationship with him, because that's all the transfer window is. I mean, it's obviously it comes down to money, but if you have good relationships, you have a good network, you can get a lot of stuff done.
Jack, the story this week has been a lot of people putting 2 and 2 together and thinking that Michael Edwards is off up to Newcastle, and I don't think that would be the right move for him personally, and I don't think it would. I think there'd be far more attractive proposition from out there in world sport, because I think he can go beyond football, mate, in the scope of what he's capable of.
Yeah, I believe he ruled it out. I don't think he'll stay in the Premier League. I think the reason he's leaving is because he wants to go for something a little different. And I think, he's got every right to do that. I think we're behind the scenes. We're a well-run. That's a hard sentence to say. We're a well-run machine, and I think we like to appoint from within. Julian Ward's been the assistant of obviously Michael Edwards for some time now. He's been at the club since 2012, and for me, the whole situation's it reminds me of when Buvac left. And everyone said, he's the brains behind Klopp. How are we going to cope without him? Blah, blah, blah. We were absolutely fucking fine, weren't we? And I think it's the same with Michael Edwards. Michael Edwards is unbelievable at his job, and he's done incredible things for this football club. But Julian Ward has learned from Michael Edwards. He's been taught everything he knows from Michael Edwards. And, you may find that that's why Michael Edwards has found that this is the perfect time for him to move on, because you may find that Julian Ward for the last year or so has been doing more work behind the scenes anyway. So, for me, it makes sense. I'm gutted to see Edwards go, but I think the Julian Ward appointment is a good one, and fingers crossed, he can bring us choo-choo better.
Fingers crossed. Before we finish up, there's just a couple of little things I want to speak about. Firstly, obviously, all of us at Anfield Agenda, thoughts with everybody in Liverpool today. We were aware of what happened at Liverpool Women's Hospital this morning. I didn't really want to speak about it too much on the stream, just to say that, of course, we're saddened and we're shocked and we're dismayed, same as everybody else. And the city doesn't need any more hardship, any more situations like that. And our thoughts and best wishes, of course, with everybody. And secondly, there was an incident the other day in the chat that was brought to my attention by one of our amazing subscribers who sent me an email with screenshots where we were discussing Marcus Rashford's situation, and one of our moderators commented something that none of us over at the channel will stand over and back, and it was about Marcus Rashford. It was about his race, but it wasn't what you think. It was more they believe that he was just a figurehead, and I want to say that we don't agree with that in any way, shape or form. I think Marcus Rashford is an amazing young man who does his parents, his club, his community and the country proud, and I want to just say his MBE was thoroughly deserved, and that moderator has since been removed and banned from the channel. So I just want to make that clear. Could have hidden, ducked away from it, but I've always spoken about transparency, and I wanted to be as open as I could with you guys. But on that one, I want to say a massive thank you to Jack, a massive thank you to Kyle, and a massive thank you to Chris for joining me today. And we will be back tomorrow. So guys, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll talk soon. Lots of love. Bye-bye.